Welcome to the Invested Dads Podcast, simplifying financial topics so that you can take action and make your financial situation better. Helping you to understand the current world of financial planning and investments, here are your hosts, Josh Robb and Austin Wilson.
All right. Hey. Welcome back to the Invested Dads Podcast, a podcast where we take you on a journey to better your financial future. Today, we are excited to bring you an exciting and special and awesome guest.
That's right. We're bringing you one of our favorite dentists in town, Dr. Scott Miller.
The doctor is in the house.
Hello, everyone.
We're going to drill him on some questions.
So it's drill the dentist.
Life. That's right. Drilling the dentist.
And some corny dental jokes.
That's right.
And all right. So Scott, yes, you are transitioning into a new career. But before we get to that, and we'll get to that in a little bit, tell us about your first career and kind of how you got started and what you did for a vast majority of your life thus far.
Yeah, it sounds good. I moved here to Findlay in 1989, graduated from the Ohio State University.
That's right.
In June of 1989.
When are they going to drop the V like every other university?
It's just going to get bigger.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's going to get bigger. Came right here in July, started here the second week of July in 1989, took over for Dr. Bill Chubb. We actually worked together for about 2 years. I took over the practice about 6 months after I was here and have been practicing dentistry here for 32 years.
Wow.
We actually...
That's a lot of teeth.
That's a lot
That's
of teeth.
a lot of teeth. A lot of teeth fixed.
The good, the bad, and the ugly?
That's it. Exactly. We're trying to take the ugly and make it good.
That's right.
Or better yet.
That's right.
So, yeah, we feel very blessed being here in Findlay, raising our 4 kids here. We lived out in a neighborhood just about 5 or 6 miles west of town here. Actually, a neighborhood that Josh grew up in also. Right. So that's been really good. We have just been really love the Findlay area and the community here. Practiced here in downtown Findlay on West Crawford Street. So it's just really a great experience. Got to know some great people, a lot of great patients and families that I saw grow up here in Findlay, and just such a rewarding place to be.
Yeah. And one of your daughters, Maddie, has actually a soft spot in the Invested Dads family because she helped get us where we are today.
Yes.
She was our marketing intern and produced and edited a lot of mistakes from our episodes from Josh and I.
She probably hates hearing our voices now.
But I hear that she has a podcast as well. Is that true?
This is true. The Maddie Miller Show.
So have you featured on this yet?
And I have not. I'm actually the only one in the entire family that has not been on.
Oh, man.
Saving the best for last.
Well, no, I don't think so. I feel like I've just,
So Josh and Austin beat her
put
the punch.
on the back shelf, like really. It's So, yeah, I keep telling her, when are you going to have your dad on? And it just has not happened. I think she just really doesn't think that I have anything interesting to say. So.
She's heard it all.
She's heard it all from me, right? For 20-some years of hearing Dad say this or that. So, yeah, I don't know when that's going to really happen.
Well, we're happy to make your podcasting debut a reality.
Thank you.
Today. So, so that is kind of where you came from. You know, you came from dentistry, a long career, a fulfilling career in dentistry, but that was not really where you wanted to stop, right? So talk a little bit about your experience in the coaching side of things as it relates to life coaching, because you've got many, many years of lots of life discussions with many people. So talk about how you got a passion for that and kind of where that led you to be where you are today.
Yeah, it really started back in the kind of the 1990s.
Good era.
My wife and I started just meeting with people, and I think I was mentored by some older gentlemen, and we had some people in our lives that really impacted us. We were in some small groups and just discussing about what parenting was all about and just really help along the way. So I think I've always had this just desire to help people and to develop people and just come alongside it, because I had people in my life that really helped me in that situation. So it's always been kind of a natural for me to work with people. So we really started that 20 to 30 years ago of doing that. And then probably in about 2013, I had a patient hand me a book called Halftime. And Halftime really challenges you to look at the second half of your life. It says that your life is like a football game. So it says you have kind of a first half And then you have this halftime where you think about it in a football game. You play the first half, you go into the locker room, you assess what has happened in the first half, and then you make adjustments, and you come out and you play the second half.
Yep.
So the book really just kind of encourages you to take a halftime in your life. And so that's what I did. For almost 2 years, I just kind of assessed about who I was, how has God gifted me, what kind of talents, abilities, skills do I have, what am I really like? And then that kind of led me on this really path that I've been on for the last probably 5 or 6 years of just selling my practice in 2016, where I went to just part-time in dentistry. I went to work for Gateway Church as a life coach there, which was fantastic. A lot of great experience there. Got to work with a lot of great people.
And then some people like me.
And some people like Austin and his wife, Jenna. And so just really did some life coaching with life group leaders there and their small group ministry there. Got a lot of experience just working again with people. And so that's kind of the journey that I've been on for this last 5 or 6 years here or so. But it really started, 20 to 30 years ago.
Right. So I guess take a little bit of a step back and talk about a couple special people that you met early on in this discussion in some of your small groups and how those relationships transitioned to where they are today. Speaking of Adam and Tony, obviously. So Hixon Zuercher's own Adam Zuercher and Tony Hixon, they featured very early in your life coaching experience.
Yeah, they sure did. It was really back in the really late 1990s, early 2000s. We were actually in a small group with Adam and Amy and Tony and Carrie and my wife, Stephanie, and I. We were all, the 6 of us were in a small group together. And it was just this really fantastic time of just, again, kind of life coaching, but we were all kind of discovering life together. And so that's really where the relationship started. And then after that, really kept the relationship going with Adam and Tony and myself. Like I said, my office was down on Crawford Street. And so once a month, I would come and have lunch with Adam. And then once a month, also lunch with Tony. And we just kind of kept this relationship going where we would meet together, talk about life, kind of a mentoring relationship. But really where they kind of came alongside of me and encouraged me also. And so that's kind of how it all got started. And we've kind of kept that relationship going for 20-some years and really has kind of led to where we're at today, really, in all of that.
Yep. So how many times have you eaten at Scramblers that time?
So this joke is, like I always insisted on going to Cafe Marie's, Scrambler Marie's, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
So I'm a creature of habit, and we always go to the exact same place every
to this
time.
day.
Nothing wrong with that.
Right.
It's good food.
It is good.
Back when it used to be Elder Bierman's there on South Main Street, and of course eventually now became Scrambler Marie's. And so, we don't go anywhere else. It's always to Marie's.
So many times.
It's just comfortable there.
Yeah, you've eaten there so much. Did you ever get their blue plate where you get your free meal?
Blue real thing?
Yeah.
Is
they
it
have
really?
a sign up there every once in a while. I don't know if they still do. They used to do that.
Oh, I don't know. At this point in time, he's eating there.
I don't think I've ever gotten anything free there. Man. I should for as many times as I've eaten there. But, never got anything.
With the Uncle Moose manhandler skillet, is that it?
Uncle Moose's, that is the ultimate. A lot of meat.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of meat in that dish. And no onions. That's another big thing. Because you don't want to, as a dentist, of course, you don't want to go back and be breathing into patients' face with onion breath.
Onion breath. Don't want that.
So we always, of course, get no onions. Yep. That's kind of a...
All right. So we're going to transition to where that halftime kind of led you to. But before we do, we always do a dad joke of the week.
Oh, we do.
And so, I mean, that's the
Without
highlight.
fail.
That's all we care about. So do you have a dad joke for us this week?
So the dad joke is not just, like a knock-knock joke or something like that. But it's really about something that kind of has transpired in my family. Now, this would be the Miller family. This is my side of the family. I have a brother. And I don't really know how long ago this started, but it really started with the movie Cheaper by the Dozen 2. So this was the second one that came out. And there's a character in that movie that's played by Eugene Levy, and his name is Jimmy Murdoch. And he is this very competitive, not patient kind of guy in the movie. And so this phrase got coined in our family about being a Jimmy.
Okay.
And so all the dads, all the guys in the family are kind of pretty much considered Jimmies. And so how you would define a Jimmy is they're very concerned about when they're going to eat, what food they're going to eat, when they're going to eat. It's got to be scheduled at a certain time.
Oh, yeah.
And all the dads here are all super competitive.
Okay.
So when it comes to playing games, we like to play board games a lot. In the summertime, we play outside games, things like that. But we're super competitive with each other. And so we have coined this phrase. All the females pretty much say, oh, it's just a Jimmy thing. Or, oh, the Jimmies want to do this.
Yeah.
So that's the dad joke. But it's a great thing to be a Jimmy. It really is.
Have you seen people transition to that Jimmy role once they become a dad? Like they weren't a Jimmy before, but now that they're a dad, that characteristic comes out?
Yeah, actually the son-in-laws.
Yes.
Like, so, my nieces when they get, or my daughters when they've gotten married, like, okay, here's some fresh blood. Okay, let's bring these guys in. And let's incorporate them into being a Jimmy. Let's teach them.
Show them how to do it right.
Jimmy indoctrination.
That's right. So we teach them ways of the Jedi, or to be a Jimmy. So they've all been kind of taking on those characteristics.
Reminds me of that commercial about turning into your parents.
Oh yeah,
the insurance commercial.
There's so many of those.
But talking about food and making sure you know when you're going to eat, that's a dad thing. It just
absolutely is.
Like, where are we going to eat? When are we going to eat?
I sometimes am planning out dinner before I've eaten like lunch or breakfast.
Yes.
That's the way it goes.
And it really comes down to meat. Like we don't care about the sides. We don't care about the vegetables.
What's the protein?
Well, speaking of that, you have taken up a new habit. You've taken up smoking.
Yes. Yeah, not smoking.
Oh, not
smoking. That's right. Yes, that's one of my new hobbies. I've just started a couple of years ago.
Yep.
I have a pellet smoker. I also have a propane vertical smoker. And so I'm becoming, trying to become
Jimmy's a smoker.
proficient in smoking.
Yes.
Smoking meat. Barbecue.
Yes.
That sounds better.
So Scott comes into the office, and he always tells me about these things he's smoking. And I'm just like, Scott, you can't.
We can hear about it, but we need it.
I know. I don't even know if he's got a smoker. I don't believe him, really. You gotta
make
the
up
fruits
stories.
in the pudding.
We were at Costco over the weekend. I brought a packet brisket, so a full brisket. Both the flat and the point. So that's going on the smoker sometime this week. Super excited about it. Going to try some new techniques. I have a new pellet smoker. So just really excited.
We just need a sample. I mean, we just need to know that it's happening. It's a little taste.
We'll work on that.
I hope there's something to brag over here. So
I'm sure
when it all comes out.
So
Scott, as we transition, that's like what you were just talking about. There was those phases in life. You experienced that halftime where you look back and said, that the career in dentistry was great, was fulfilling and rewarding, but you felt this calling, and you'd been utilizing these gifts and strengths during that same time, but you felt this calling to spend more time in some sort of role where you're helping lead and coach this transition. Tell us a little bit about what this turned into.
Yeah. First of all, let me just say, I think everybody is called to something.
Yeah.
I really do. We've all have very unique personalities, talents, strengths, things like that we're passionate about, and really kind of figuring that out. So that halftime is just so important for you to kind of just take a pause in time and to just really assess that. And here's another thing I just kind of thought about. One of the things that was so important in my life was other people in my life. Like, because other people can see you so much more clearly than you see yourself sometimes. And so I had a lot of like really, really good people in my life. And one, couple of those guys were Adam and Tony. Like we were meeting together all the time, and I was constantly like, hey, Adam, hey, Tony, like, what am I like? Like, what kind of things have you seen in my life that I'm really good at, that I'm really passionate about? So, it was, again, for these last 4 or 5 years, it was meeting with those guys, assessing with them about what kind of things I'm good at, what I'm like. And then really some things happened in my dental practice. Like I said, I was still part-time in dentistry 2 days a week. Our dental practice actually got sold to a corporation. And so right when that was happening, Tony was working on his book. So he was writing this book, Retirement Stepping Stones. he was getting to release that book in about a year or so. And so that was kind of all happening. I was really feeling called to getting out of dentistry. I think the sell to the corporation kind of really helped that. And let me say, the Pure Smiles people were super kind to me through all this. But again, it really kind of helped me to move me out of dentistry. So we really started getting very serious about this conversation about me coming on board here at Hixon Zuercher being a life coach.
Yep.
Really had not thought a tremendous amount about that, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, but certainly within the last couple of years then, that conversation just got a lot more serious. And so there was a series of events that kind of took place like that. And then really over a 6-month period of time of meeting with Adam, meeting with Tony, talking about this, we started to kind of put all the pieces of the puzzle together.
And you didn't enter this lightly. You have certification. You have a credentialing for coaching.
Yep. So starting back in May of 2021, I got out of my job with the church. That was again, great 4 years of being with Gateway Church. Really appreciated the experience that I had there. Started in July with Hixon Zuercher, came on staff with them. And then in August of 2021, got out of dentistry then completely. And then really at that point, I started pursuing a certification where I became a certified professional retirement coach, where I pursued a degree in that. That was really, really helpful, really kind of getting me started and going down that road of being certified in this area of retirement life coaching.
And so you keep using the word coaching, life coaching, retirement coaching. So you have a whistle and a clipboard, you're standing on the sideline. What does this look like, right?
Yeah. One of the things, there's a lot of difference between a life coach or coaching versus, like, say, a therapist. So a therapist typically looks in the past. Coaching typically always looks to the future. So one of the things that we do in life coaching is really looking at, and again, specifically within Hixon Zuercher Capital Management, it's looking at the non-financial side of life.
Yep.
And we're really trying to plan ahead. We're looking ahead into this second half of people's lives. I mean, we can look back on the past and again, look at how people have been blessed, but we're really, in life coaching, it's really planning, looking ahead, it's setting goals. So we're setting a certain amount of goals based on people's values. So it's kind of assessing where they're at right now, looking at what's really important to me, what are my values, those kinds of things, and then really taking that and then setting goals for the future. What do I want to do in life? What am I going to occupy my time? How am I going to find purpose and significance, which Tony's book talks a ton about, and really how to try to avoid stumbling blocks, which is the word that Tony uses a lot in his Retirement Stepping Stones book.
Because the key there is, for your first half, for most people, you don't have a lot of choice. You have to do something to provide for your family to do that, right? And
that's
that
exactly
second half of your life, there's a lot more freedom in that.
There is.
At that point, you're probably financially secure that working is now optional for you. It may be part of your purpose, but you don't have to do that just to put food on the table and have that shelter for your family.
That's right. People that are in their second half of their life, they have the resources, they have the time, and they have the wisdom. They have so much of that to offer to our community, to society. And so it's really about trying to encourage people that are in that portion of their lives. And again, let me just say, whether you're in your 40s or 50s or 60s, it can really be at any phase of life in that area that you really want to start thinking about that second half of your life. But yeah, your life is changing. You have so much more time available. Your kids are maybe grown up. They're off to college or they're in high school. There's just less time, commitment to parenting or even just, raising a family. Or whatever you were involved, even with your careers, there's so much demands so many times in our careers. And so a lot of times it's just, helping people see all that they have at this point in time and to really find significance in the second half of life.
So, Scott, you're in your new role as a life coach here at Hixon Zuercher Capital Management. So what ways can people utilize this theme of finding purpose in their second half?
Yeah, there are basically, and you can find all this information on our website, There's a life coaching page that we've developed that really explains all this. But there basically are two avenues that we kind of pursue with people that people can sign up for and really get involved in my services of life coaching. One of them is workshops. So workshops generally are 6 to 8 people. These are groups of people that come together. We do workshops at various different times. We're actually ready to do our second workshop tomorrow night. So we'll meet here at Hixon Zuercher Capital Management on 101 West Sandusky Street here. And so that's groups of people coming together. There's 2 sessions. Those sessions last about 2 to 2.5 hours. And that just kind of gives people an overview of the second half of their lives. We look at social connections. We look at physical health. We start with my values, which is really just a session of assessing what am I like, what's most important to me in my life, and we also talk about emotional health. And we have lots of question and answer, a lot of interaction among the participants that are there. Do not need to be a client of Hixon Zuercher Capital Management to participate in these workshops or to do the private coaching that I'll explain in just a second. So I just wanted to emphasize that. And so that's one of the things that we offer, the workshops, which have been really, really well received. The second part of it is actually what we call private coaching. And this is really one-on-one or one-on-two, sitting down and meeting with me. And that's really taking a look at maybe more specific areas within your lives. So if you want to really kind of look at something specific, or maybe you've gone through the workshops and now you've got more questions about certain areas of your lives. Maybe you want to pursue a second career, and really, what am I going to do with all this time in my second half? So that's what we do. So it's really workshops, private coaching that we do. And again, for both of those things, I want to emphasize you do not need to be a client of Hixon Zuercher Capital Management. This is not a way for us to gain more clients. We just simply want to help people. We want to help people make that transition into the second half of their lives and really find purpose and significance.
And like you said, they've been well received, the workshops, and we keep having to put a new one out there because they're filling up. So
yes, that's right.
If you're interested, definitely sign up online because those do fill up pretty quick.
The website is hzcapital.com/coaching. So that's how you can find it. Or if you just go to hzcapital.com, there's a what we do drop down in life coaching. So
and we'll link that in the show notes for us there. Wow, that is a lot to take in, Scott, but that is such a unique niche in the financial planning world because, I think we talk about it a lot here at the office, but, a lot of firms do the financial planning side of things very, very well.
That's right.
It's a numbers game. That part of it is a numbers game, right?
Yep.
That is just numbers.
Yep.
But when you start bringing in the soft side of things, the purpose side of things, that is a unique approach that hopefully can help a lot of people. And we are excited to be on that journey with you.
Yeah, yes. And there may be a lot of people out there that are kind of a do-it-yourselfer, right? They've been investing their whole life. They're comfortable with it. But that's the piece that they're unsure about is just the what's next. And so, again, that's why it's available to anybody out there that wants to look at the non-financial aspect of retirement planning and that life transition. So
yeah, and let me just say this. Before people retire, they call it the 90-10 rule of retirement. And before you retire, you think 90% of the time about the financial side of it and only 10% about the non-financial. Well, that actually flips when you get into retirement. And you actually think about the 90% of it. What you think about is actually the non-financial, my lifestyle, what am I going to do? Where the 10% of it actually is really just thinking of your finances. Mm-hmm. And so really the whole point is before you retire, you want to really think about that non-financial side.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So, Scott, any closing thoughts or final remarks that you have that you can just leave our listeners with a little bit of wisdom on, planning that second half of their life?
Yeah, I think the principles that we talk about, this is for anybody of any age. I don't care where you're at or what stage of life you're in. A lot of the things that we're going to talk about apply to any stage of life that you're in. So I think, we're just talking about general principles for people to follow that can really help them to be successful in life, to really find purpose and significance. I just feel like that's what we've been created for. And so to really, again, I think for a lot of people, maybe if you're listening to this, you're thinking, hey, I'm doing okay. Hey, I don't really need that. I think you'd be surprised at how beneficial this is to really just think ahead and to plan ahead and really find purposeful and significant things for the second half of your life. I just think there's so much out there that you can be involved in that really can bring a lot of joy to your life.
Great. That was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Scott, for being on the show this week.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, we are so excited. We'll have to do it again sometime.
Yes.
We'll get you on the show twice before Maddie gets you on the show once.
And maybe soon we'll be eating brisket together.
That's right.
Okay, we'll have a whole episode about smoking brisket. Can we do that?
We can absolutely do that. So thanks, Scott, for being here. And as a reminder, we will be putting the link to that coaching page on show notes for this show. So take a look there. Josh, how can people help us to continue to grow this podcast?
Yep, make sure you subscribe. That way every Thursday you get the most recent episode sent directly to you. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. And if you have any questions for us or for Dr. Miller, you can shoot an email, hello@theinvesteddads.com, and we'll make sure he sees that. Again, if you know somebody that's kind of getting towards that transition period or starting to think through that second half, share this episode with them. It would be very helpful.
All right, well, until next Thursday, have a great week.
All right, talk to you later.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Invested Dads podcast. This episode has ended, but your journey towards a better financial future doesn't have to. Head over to theinvesteddads.com to access all the links and resources mentioned in today's show. If you enjoyed this episode and we had a positive impact on your life, leave us a review, click subscribe, and don't miss the next episode. Josh Robb and Austin Wilson work for Hixon Zuercher Capital Management. All opinions expressed by Josh, Austin, or any podcast guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Hixon Zuercher Capital Management. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for investment decisions. Clients of Hixon Zuercher Capital Management may maintain positions in the securities discussed in this podcast. There is no guarantee that the statements, opinions, or forecasts provided herein will prove to be correct. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Indices are not available for direct investment. Any investor who attempts to mimic the performance of an index would incur fees and expenses which would reduce returns. Securities investing involves risk, including the potential for loss of principal. There is no assurance that any investment plan or strategy will be successful.